Greetings and welcome to a new episode on our pantheistic view. Today we shall be, or I will be discussing a very relevant topic considering that we are in the middle of war. Many will be asking the question, where is God? Why is He not intervening? Why is He silent? So my title today is Hidden in Plain Sight, the Omnipresence of God. So, if you are a pastor or somebody teaching the Bible in any capacity, I would ask you to first put down what you are doing, stop, and concentrate on listening to what I am about to say today. Because I believe what I will be discussing today will give you an understanding of why God is silent, of why, in spite of the millions of prayers and expectation that God will move in the midst of this war, especially with one side invoking the name of God, and not only invoking the name, but actually expecting that God will intervene, yet God is not doing anything. So again, stop what you're doing. Join me and let's see what nuggets of wisdom we can be sharing today. Again, the title is Hidden in Plain Sight. You know very well that I am discussing from the perspective of pantheism. Pantheism, as popularly understood, is the concept that God created the universe and then He abandoned it. But is that true? While pantheism isn't about abandonment, it's about discovering the divine in every corner of existence. There is a quiet accusation that lingers in many spiritual conversations. God has left us. God has abandoned us. It's a familiar narrative. The world is chaotic, prayers seem unanswered, and history reads like a long record of human struggle. From this, some conclude that if God exists, He should be intervening. But somehow, because He isn't, then the thought of Him stepping away, being distant, silent, and uninvolved pervades conversations. Pantheism is often placed under the same suspicion. If God became the universe, then doesn't that mean He disappeared into it, dissolved, abandoned His post? At first glance, it sounds like divine absence. But what if it is the exact opposite? What if the meaning of His absence is actually His presence? Stay with me. Let's continue. We tend to associate presence with visibility. If something cannot be seen, heard, or clearly identified, we assume it's not there. But this assumption says more about human perception than about reality itself. Air is invisible, right? Yet it sustains every breath. Gravity cannot be touched, yet it anchors everything in the cosmos. Energy flows unseen, yet it powers everything from galaxies to atoms. So why should we expect the divine or God to be any different? The problem may not be that God is absent, but that He is too present in everything. Consider the old story of the blind man and the elephant. Each man touches a different part, and each one insists that he understands the whole. One feels the trunk and says, "It is like a snake." Another touches the leg and says, "It's like a tree." And another touches the ear and say, "It's like a fan." Now, each is partly right, but all of them are ultimately incomplete. Human attempts to define God may suffer from the same limitation. Some experience the divine in moments of awe or wonder, others in moral conviction, others in the laws of nature. Each one grasps something real, but none grasp the whole. Pantheism suggests a radical shift. What if the elephant is not something we are merely touching, but something we are inside of? Traditional theism, the Abrahamic religions, often presents God as a separate from creation, a being who intervenes, who acts, and occasionally interrupts the natural order. When such intervention is not observed, silence feels like absence. Pantheism offers another lens. It proposes that God did not withdraw from the universe, but became the universe. Not a ruler standing outside the system, but the very substance of the system itself. In this view, the rivers are not merely created, they are expressions of the divine. The stars are not just designed, they are manifestations. Consciousness is not an accident, it is participation. God is not missing, God is diffuse, scattered into all existence. There is a kind of irony here. The more pervasive or the bigger something is, the harder it becomes to notice. A fish, for example, does not perceive water as extraordinary. It is simply the environment of its existence. Likewise, if the divine permeates everything, then it would not appear as something separate or spectacular. It would appear as, well, yes, everything. The ordinary becomes the disguise of the infinite. The rustling of leaves, the rhythm of breath, the silent logic of mathematics, the warmth of human connections. These are not interruptions of the divine. They are its expressions. Pantheism invites us to reconsider what we are looking for. Perhaps the mistake is expecting God to appear as something other, something like a human, something physical, but He may already be present in us all, as everything. Look around you, creation, look at it with new eyes. And perhaps you will perceive that you will see God in everything there is. Many point to the silence of heaven as evidence against divine involvement. Wars rage, like today. Suffering persists, and no voice breaks through the sky to explain or intervene. But silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence is the language of immersion. If God is not outside the system issuing commands, but within it unfolding as natural law, human freedom, and cosmic process, then the silence is not neglect, it is continuity. The universe is not being interrupted because it is already the expression of the divine. Pantheism does not ask us to look upward in search of a distant deity. It invites us to look outward, inward, around us, with new eyes. Like what Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you, near you, around you. We have to see the divine presence, not as an occasional miracle, but as a constant reality. To recognize that what feels ordinary may, in fact, be extraordinary. Pantheism does not ask us to look upward in search of a distant deity. It invites us to look outward, yes, but also inward and around us with new eyes, with new perspective, with a new mentality. Just like what Jesus said, The kingdom of God is within you, near you, around you. We have to see the divine presence, not as an occasional miracle, but as a constant reality. To recognize what feels ordinary may, in fact, be extraordinary. It's so familiar that it escapes notice. Like the air around us, we hardly notice or take note. The sun shining, we know we're there, but we hardly notice. The divine is not hiding behind the universe. It is hiding as the universe. Not that it is hiding, but I lack the word. Okay? Its presence is here, the universe. But because it's so big, we hardly notice. Across cultures and centuries, humanity has been trying to describe something it cannot fully grasp. And interestingly, many traditions arrive at the same humbling conclusion. We are perceiving reality in parts, in portions, in fragments, a little at a time, then a little more later on. We don't have a complete picture, but we have fragments. And if we join these fragments together, we might be able to see something significant. The story of the blind man and the elephant is only one expression of this. In another tradition, his oral tradition, a fish is asked to describe water. It struggles, not because water is absent, but because it is everywhere in its surroundings. It has never known, the fish has never known existence apart from the water. In Tao Te Ching, we're looking at Lao Tzu, the Tao, the Tao. Reality itself is described as something so all-encompassing that naming it already diminishes the Tao that could be described is not the Tao. That's what it says in Tao Te Ching. Okay. The Tao is not hidden because it is distant. It is hidden because it is too present. It is hidden by its very enormous presence. And in a literature, the Republic, through the allegory of the cave, for those of you who know that, shadows are mistaken for reality. Not because truth is absent, but because perception is limited. These are not just philosophical curiosities. They are mirrors. They suggest that what we call absence may simply be misrecognition, a fake recognition, a false recognition. What is energy? Energy is the invisible presence. Invisible, yet it pervades everything. It's present everywhere. What if the thread connecting all these insights is this? Reality is not made of things, it is made of energy. Modern physics has quietly dismantled the solid world we once believed in. Matter at its deepest level is not solid at all. It is energy in form, vibration, and relationship. If you are abreast with new information, new discoveries, scientific journals, they say that even us, we see something solid here, but in its fundamental essence, we are composed of atoms, things invisible if they are to be separated as individual particles. We know that atoms have nucleus and electrons and protons, and they have magnetic fields. That one atom with another atom does not actually connect to each other. There is magnetism in them they can be near each other but not really connect, because the force in one atom deflect the force in another atom. So scientists actually say, like, I have this bottle with me. I am holding it, I am touching it, but in reality, there is that level, that invisible layer. I am thinking, or probably I'm perceiving that I am touching it, but actually I'm not, my flesh does not really touch this plastic, because we are composed of atoms, quantum fields. In the most fundamental form or essence of every matter, we are atoms. We are fields, force fields. Now, this, if we bring it to our discussion, brings us a startlingly close to a profound realization. If everything is energy and energy is everywhere, then we are a living, moving, and existing within an all-pervasive presence. God is energy. And for those who have been reading what I have been writing, I have a book, God, the Divine Energy. You may want to buy that from Amazon, or you may want to order that from me, hard copy, so I can, it's print to order. By saying that, then what I am also saying is that God is not a distant deity. It is an immanent reality. God is not there. God is not around. Well, He is around, of course, because this is all creation, but He is also in me. That's why Jesus can say, the kingdom of God is within you. Actually, it is essentially you and me and everything around us. Pantheism, when viewed through this lens, is not saying that God became absent. It is saying that God became everything, as energy, as existence, as the very fabric of our being. In my other book, Tuhu Va Buhu, based on Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, the ancient idea of a formless and void is not treated as empty nothingness. The age-old debate, where did we come from? How were we created? Did God create us from nothing, or did He create us from something? Now, in that book, you will see that nothing is not really nothing, but it is a potential, unformed energy awaiting expression. Interestingly, modern science offers a parallel. If you have heard of the CERN or CERN, that 24 kilometers of laboratory tunnel underground between Switzerland and France, physicists around the world continuously make studies, experiments there, and physicists confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson, another term that you may want to research. But the Higgs boson is often nicknamed or called the God particle. This discovery revealed that what we perceive as mass arises from interaction with an underlying field. What the CERN does is that they make energy, they make them clash with each other. They bombard the tunnel with energy. And what happens is that from this invisible energy, mass was formed, matter was formed. So from nothing, something came up, which is so opposite what we have learned, that nothing will come from nothing. But this experiment at CERN proves that matter can come from nothing. Again, if you will look at the famous formula by Albert Einstein, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass plus the speed of light squared. In simple terms, what appears as something emerges from what once seemed like nothing. But not that nothing is again truly not nothing. It is a field, an energy reality pregnant with possibility. This resonates deeply again with my book, Tuhuva Buhu. The void is not empty. The world wherein God created everything was not empty. There is something there. Energy. Review your Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 again. Before God started to create, the earth was already there. Water is already there. And of course, God is there. God as the Ruach, the energy, alive with potential. And if that potential is universal, continuous, and foundational, then it begins to resemble what humanity has long called God. The silence of heaven, often used as evidence of divine absence, now then takes on another or different meaning. What if the silence is not the silence of distance, but the silence of immanence, the silence of presence? Energy does not speak in the words of human beings, yet it animates every voice. It does not intervene as an outsider because it is already the substance of all processes. The divine or God as energy does not come and go. It simply is present, immanent, everywhere found. When viewed this way, the old question, where is God, begins to dissolve. God is not located locally. God is everywhere. And God is expressed. God is expressed in motion, in matter, in sounds, in consciousness, in the unfolding of the cosmos. The blind men were not wrong. Their perception was just incomplete. The fish was not ignorant. It was just immersed. And perhaps we are the same. We are not abandoned. We are not alone, but participants in a reality so saturated with the divine presence that we have mistaken familiarity for absence. Pantheism does not describe a God who walked away. It describes a God who became too close, too familiar to be noticed, too fundamental to be isolated, too present to be perceived as something far away, as apart. Like energy, unseen yet undeniable, the divine is not missing from the universe. It is the universe, hidden not in distance, but in plain sight. Thank you for being with me. If you have questions, if you have reflections, do write me a message. And as you do, just a simple request. Hit that subscribe button and follow because we will have a lot more to discuss. Today I discuss about the omnipresence of God. Next time, I might discuss the omnipotence of God or the omniscience of God. Follow me for our next discussion. Thank you and God bless.